Hello, good afternoon, and this video is part of my dirty weekend videos that I have been doing over the years. Now, as everyone's probably aware, today is the day that the children break up for 6 weeks for school. So one of the things I try to do during the summer holidays is, because I've got the kids at home every day, we will do fun things, but I also want to try and make the house more livable and more manageable. Now, it's all good and well having a vacuum cleaner, or two of the canisters are for my vac for my carpet cleaner. But as you can see, they are absolutely filthy. And one thing that people tend to be very kind of like complacent about doing, mainly because, you are using an electrical appliance at the end of the day. So the last thing you want to be doing is mixing water with electric, which is a little bit ironic considering it is a wet vac. Now, so what I am doing at the moment is just basically allowing these to just soak in the bath, and I will put some cleaning fluid in with them. I will probably use bicarbonate by soda, to be honest, because it's more environmentally friendly, as opposed to anything strong like bleach or any other detergents. So once I'd had a bath myself, I've then put these items in the bath, which is why the water is so dirty. It's not from me, I want to add. I was never that filthy. It is literally from the amount of dirt and debris that is in these appliances. Now, the only other major disadvantage with these is you cannot actually take them apart. If anyone knows how to take them apart, please, please, please let me know. And don't try and be a smart aleck and say, oh, it's really simple, just undo the screws. I tried that and it did absolutely nothing. By the looks of it, when it was manufactured, this item, they drilled the holes in for the screws to put this piece of plastic on, which then fits into the vacuum cleaner, to basically also to secure the handle. It is an absolutely separate part of the vacuum cleaner to the main canister, that you then will put your water in. Sorry, let me just double check it is this one. Yes, that you put your this isn't the one you put your cleaning fluid in. This is the one that sucks up all the dirty water off your floor. So because you cannot physically take it apart, it is really, really hard to clean. Now, I'm pretty sure there are a number of ways that this could be cleaned. But again, it's like this one here. It is not the most easiest appliance to clean, and as you can see, my children have decided to get a little bit creative, and they've put my hair bubbles inside my vacuum cleaner. And even when I'm literally tipping it upside down to try and get all the water out, my hair bubbles are still stuck somehow, which is quite interesting. It's probably stuck on that piece of paper there. So yes, this one is a lot more easier to rinse out, I say, despite the fact that there's still things stuck inside. But if they aren't working correctly, one of the main reasons probably is due to the fact that there's a blockage, or, as the case may be, if they are starting to smell, it's because of the stagnant water and obviously the buildup of mildew and the buildup of mold that accumulates within the actual main canister. So I'm going to allow these to soak. So there's part of my vacuum cleaner in here for my normal vacuum cleaner. Again, that is the canister that you would use to create. There is no bags with this one. So you've said goodbye to the bag, which is great, until the children press the lever and then it all falls all over the floor and then you have to re-hoover. So in a way, this one is a lot more easier to clean. And again, I would never usually recommend doing this, but again, if you ever do this, this is how I do it. I always put them in the garden afterwards, especially on a warm, sunny day like you can see through my curtain, just to make sure they are 100% dry. And the reason I've done this is because all of these little holes here in the filters and one thing and another, once they start getting blocked, not only do they smell, it prevents the suction that is then needed to clean the carpet. So I don't do this all the time. I probably do this like every 6 months. So just make sure, obviously, when you are using these appliances, even if you don't want to do what I class as a deep clean to get rid of all the fluff and debris that does accumulate, don't do what people usually do, and that's just basically leave the vacuum cleaner full of dirt in the corner of the room. Saying that, if you are unfortunate to have somebody over the summer holidays accuse you of neglecting your children, which is something that did actually happen to me during lockdown. I think a lot of people had that problem during lockdown. Children weren't in school, and those parents who obviously are from what they would call broken homes. Bearing in mind, I think a lot of people nowadays are single parents. I'm not saying I don't have friends and family who are married and they're committed to their marriage, but I know a lot of parents who are, like myself, a single mum or single dad. And so it was very frustrating during COVID to have somebody accuse me of not taking care of my kids, and to have some woman stand at my back door telling me that I didn't know how to use my vacuum cleaner and that I never used it, even though the canister had literally just been filled up in the kitchen. And for me personally, and I mean, and anyone who lives in my hometown would probably be aware of this, what really added insult to injury was the day that unfounded allegations were made against me. I had social services come to my house, accuse me of neglect, accuse me of child abuse. A child the other side of town, which was supposedly classed as like a posher side of Nuneaton, whereas I live on the side of Nuneaton where there is 5 areas of deprivation, was actually murdered by her parents. And I was so angry at social services, because even when they were standing in my kitchen arguing with me for over an hour about how I hadn't hoovered and how the floor was dirty and how it was muddy, and I'm like, yeah, it's been raining, my children have just come in from outside. Well, why didn't you make them take the shoes off at the door? Well, because they just wanted to get in the house, and you just happened to turn up at my house the moment that they walked into my house with muddy shoes. Another child was being murdered, and all of the allegations against me were obviously, the government, basically, they didn't have a leg to stand on. And it just really, really frustrated me that potentially whoever this vindictive individual was towards me, if they hadn't wasted social services time, that maybe that child would have still be alive today. And again, what really aggravated me was they said that I was being accused of not feeding my kids. Feeding my kids. If anyone has ever met my children, my middle child, he is like my 2 other children put together because of his sensory processing. He is always wanting to eat food. And if anyone has ever had the opportunity, I mean, even if they'd had asked to see, not that they did, my food bill for that morning, it was over £100. I'd literally just been shopping. And you couldn't even get in my kitchen without my home delivery still being on the floor. So it's one of them. I mean, a lot of parents I've spoken to will say, oh no, don't always empty your vacuum cleaner, because it gives the impression that you do actually tidy up if it's full or half full. But at the same time, for hygiene reasons, it's part of my OCD. I always try and make sure that the appliances that I'm using are as clean as possible. So sometimes I will literally spend a day literally like deep cleaning my fridge, my freezer, my oven, my vacuum cleaners, literally everything that I use, my washing machine, just to make sure that when they are used again, that they are as hygienically usable as possible. I mean, even the bath, because I've used it now to clean these items, it will then be deep cleaned this evening before my kids arrive home. And again, another thing that frustrated me is that everybody lives differently, but once you have children, there seems to be this unwritten rule of how the government perceive what they class as a fit parent. And any parent, it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire, unless you've got a really good lawyer, or if you live in a 1-bedroom apartment or a 5-story mansion. If allegations are made, they can come into your home. And literally, I'm not joking, they will try and find any way to discredit you as a parent. If there was something ridiculous like a fingerprint on a door frame or on a window, they would write that down as window not cleaned, marks on window. If you were to have left a cup in the sink, they will say washing up not done. I know this from past experience of talking to other parents who literally were saying, this is ridiculous. They're accusing me of neglect. They're accusing me of child abuse because there was a cup in the sink. Because on the day they turned up, I was washing my children's bedding and allowing the bedroom basically to air before I hoovered all the mattresses to make sure that there was no bed bugs. With me, I find it really, really easier to sit in the bathroom on my little stool, which I've got here, and clean things by hand. I don't really want to be standing up over the sink in the kitchen where I prepare food. The way I look at it is, with the bath, you use the bath to get clean as a person. So people may agree or disagree, and it's one of these things you're never going to win. But I always say, if anything needs cleaning, with the exception of shoes, I will never, ever, ever allow my kids to clean their shoes in my bath again. I had to take all my outside pipes apart, and there is actually a video about that on YouTube, because they put so much dirt down my drain, which is probably the reason why people are going to be like, no, don't do this in the bath, you're going to plug your drain up. Then I had to take the pipes apart outside. So the golden rule in my house is now, if you have muddy shoes, muddy trainers, muddy boots, clean them in the garden. Don't clean them in the bath. Sorry, I've got that upper respiratory tract infection. So with the exception of obviously my parts to my vacuum cleaner, which is, to be honest, probably about the only thing now that I would clean in the bath, because I can just basically leave them to soak. I would say clean it outside, but I tend not to use the sink because obviously it's the kitchen and it's where we prepare food for the children to eat. So even like with our art supplies, 9 times out of 10, I don't like doing it, but we will just throw stuff away instead of spending 7 hours trying to clean the pots, or we just won't bother, because a lot of the art material that I use, it is watercolours and acrylics as opposed to anything else. So again, I have even said to the children, look, I'll give you a bucket of water with some washing up liquid in, clean your art paintbrushes in the garden, and then tip the bucket of water down the drain. Yes, again, it's not very environmentally friendly, and a lot of the pollutants, if I want to be standing on my soapbox right now, that are in the environment are not natural. They are all, in a way, man-made. So when people say, oh, I don't drink water, it's one of them, yeah, okay, you don't drink water because it's got chlorine in, but how many other chemicals are still in that water despite it going through a purification plant? And I know this is something that's been online recently about how healthy, how clean is the water that is being supplied to households for drinking and for obviously other needs such as bathing. But as everyone should be aware, maybe not everybody is aware, there is that many microplastics now in the ecosystem. They will never be eradicated. And they have found scientific and documented evidence of microplastics being in food, being in wildlife, and even being in humans. So I guess the only thing I can say is it's about trying to stay safe, well, and as healthy as possible. And one of the ways that I try to do that with my children is by washing out and deep cleaning my canisters to my vacuum cleaners every 6 months. So I hope you found this useful. Yes, I know I tend to go off on other conversations and things and include information that maybe I shouldn't by oversharing, but I can only apologise for that. That's just part of my disability of living with mental health. And I just think, it's really important that if you can sort of prevent people from having to go through any trials or tribulations or trauma that you yourself have gone through, then it's good to maybe try and support people so that they don't make those mistakes or suffer the way you've suffered. Because I tell you what, the main reason my mental health has deteriorated more over the last sort of decade is because I have kids. And I'm not saying it's their fault, but it's society's fault. I was this mother, newborn baby, rose-tinted glasses. I'm going to live like a hippie. I'm going to live on a boat. My kids are going to be great. They're going to have a great life. We're going to go fishing. I'm not going to make them wear shoes every day. We're going to cook. We're going to clean. We're going to be happy. Tra-la-la-la-la. 3 months into having my child, I was in hospital for a year. And the moment that happened, I have never been able to get away from the attitude and the stigma of people wanting to report me for not taking care of my son, who is 10 now, and he has 2 brothers, and apart from my middle one, he's in full-time education, just got his school report back, and he's doing really well. So I just think it's really frustrating that people can't live the way they want to. I'm not saying that guidelines shouldn't be put in place for safeguarding, but to come into people's homes and have a preconceived conception of how they should live based on a government tick sheet, the way I look at it is, it's not like I'm trying to force my children into an arranged marriage at the age of 8. They're not being abused by family members or strangers that I'm allowing into my home. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, nor does their dad. So my kids don't always want to wear socks and shoes when they're in the garden. And it just frustrates me that, when you do see other children and you hear about other children that are at risk or have been murdered or died, like with me on that day, I just thought to myself, God, if you had not have wasted your time with me, that child may have survived. And even the neighbours of that child were like, We kept phoning social services, nobody turned up, nobody believed us. We could hear the child screaming through the walls. And I just think to myself, oh my God, why did you come to my house? Why were you here for over 2 hours arguing with me about the colour of my carpet in my back door, when it was blatantly obvious that my children were safe, they were well, they were fed, they were watered, they were happy? And so, like I said, this is again one of the reasons why maybe I do clean my vacuum, because I'm now at that point where part of me has severe paranoia that if things aren't how they should be, that I wouldn't want to go through what I've already been through in the past. But at the same time, I'm not going to allow the obsession of constantly wanting to clean 24/7 rule my life, which is one of the things I am actually medicated for. So if you do decide to do any cleaning over the summer holiday, think about getting your kids involved. Because I think, the sooner they learn how to be independent and to do things like how to use a vacuum cleaner or a sweeping brush or a dustpan and brush, it's going to benefit them in the future. So thank you very much and take care.